Hello everyone, welcome to the round 27 preview stream. Doesn't feel right to call this the trade target stream because firstly, who has trades, and secondly, who is there to target, because round 27 team lists have just been an absolute joke, missing so many key players. But hey, still glad to be here for probably what will be the final stream for the season. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's tuning in already. Appreciate that. There's probably not a whole heap to discuss this week with so many important players out, and a lot of head-to-head finals are now over. So let me know in the chat as well if you did win your head-to-head final. It was a bit unlucky last week, obviously, with Joey Manu getting injured. He was very popular captain choice. I also suffered that too. But yeah, hopefully you were able to ride the luck and hopefully get a win in your key head-to-heads. So just quickly addressing the chat, no mullet to match Pappenhausen. Who wants to see it? I'm sorry, I can't claim a mullet. Just a normal short on sides and back and longer on top. Boring haircut from me, Ian. Apologies for that. No mullet, but yeah. Look, to be honest, I can't even say that I will eventually get a mullet because I don't think I can pull it off. So maybe a moustache. Maybe that's the best you can get out of me. But yeah, thanks Ian. So I'd like to say on behalf of everyone that watches your streams, really appreciate all the hard work and effort you put in to try and help out. Thanks so much. Really, really do appreciate that. Also, I will give a quick shout out as well to the stream to my two nephews who are potentially watching me downstairs on the big screen TV. I mentioned it to them just before I started that I do YouTube. So let's see if they're watching or not, if they could find me. Otherwise, they can hear me on replay. Anyway, but yeah, Ian, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. David, thank you so much as well for what you said a small thank you for everything you do. Really appreciate it. Look, I probably don't talk the talk. I probably don't walk the talk, if that is a phrase I can say. As you can see here. Season rank of 7,000. Probably not the best season I've had. I think this is actually my worst SuperCoach season. And yeah, so hopefully I gave some good advice to help you guys out. Probably didn't take my own advice. That was probably one of the big issues. 1080 last week, obviously horror show. Traded in Jason Saab as my pod over Suoli'i, who got 140, over Kula, who got like 126. No Nico Hines. Latrell Drinkwater worked out, but yeah, it was Captain Manu plus that pod in Saab just didn't really work out for me. So hey, it is what it is. We'll watch the footy this week, and to be honest, I'm actually just keen to watch the finals just with my feet up. No need to worry about SuperCoach. Just enjoy the games for what they are. Mark saying thank you so much. Following on from what Ian said, only 11 players this week. Yeah, look, I don't think many people have a lot of numbers this week, so I put a poll out on Twitter before about how many active players you have this week. The options were 17 plus, 15 to 17, 13 to 15, and the last option, which was basically to reflect less than 13, I just called it not even bothering counting. 48.8% said they're not bothering counting. So almost half the players out there either can't be bothered to count or they've got less than 13. 13 to 15 was like 33%. So like honestly, majority, like 95% of players don't have a full 17. So it is what it is. I think it's just that type of week. And look, let me know in the chat as well if you guys have a feeling about how should maybe SuperCoach approach this for next year, because it is very obvious. It happens every year. This year though seems to be the worst though. Like just the amount of restings from both the Broncos, from the Storm, Panthers actually not so much, surprisingly. But the injuries as well. Warriors being a big one. Webster trolled us all saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to rest players," and then he literally rests the most SuperCoach relevant players. Nico Klukstad, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, Sean Johnson, Toru Harris I think has a minor knock, Adam Fanua-Blake. Everyone else from the Warriors is playing. But the most SuperCoach relevant players are out, which are his key guys, I guess. So that obviously is a big hurt as well for this week. But yeah, 11 seems good. I have 8 to 9. I'm on 14, but that 14, as you'll see a little bit later, includes like Jack Howarth. I don't even know who else it includes. It ain't great. It ain't great, basically, put it that way. Only have 12, Ian says. Let's not forget to give the stream a like. Yeah, please do give it a like if you are enjoying it, and if you have enjoyed the content throughout the whole season as well. So the way that I'm thinking about the stream is, look, we'll talk a little bit about round 27. If there's any questions in there about, last minute trade pods, if people are looking at it. Otherwise, I'm going to do more of a season review, what went well, what didn't go well, and maybe anything that we can take away into 2024 season for SuperCoach. the mullet for Pappy. Hello, the Toko effect. Will, what a Manu. Yep, love that you're using that emoji. One of my favorites from last season. Need to find some intro music for next year. Yeah, definitely that's one of on my to-do list. I did used to have intro music, but it was royalty free, and then it became non-royalty free. And so it had a couple of issues with some like copyright claims on 2 of my streams, so I had to take it off. Otherwise I was going to keep doing content that was just going to keep getting copyright striked, and then that might stop me making any streams at all. So we'll definitely find some intro music for next year. But yeah, so happy to see how you guys want to do it. If you want to do more of the season review first, or taking a look at round 27. In all honesty, I think I'll probably spend 5-10 minutes on round 27 in terms of trade targets, because like realistically, who has trades? Let me know in the chat if you have any trades at all. But I mean, it's pretty obvious for me. The teams that I do think are obvious to target is Manly, who've got a pretty settled squad. Cherry Evans, for example, went huge last week against the Tigers. That looks like one of the best matchups this week to target. Newcastle, yes, but no Kalen Ponga. Again, another massive out for SuperCoach. So, you could go someone like a Gagai and Marzu, but you feel like the overall quality of Newcastle will dip. Maybe Lockie Miller would be a really good pod. Should be goal kicking potentially as well, and playing at fullback against a pretty leaky Dragons outfit. That could be a good result. I've got the Warriors here, but it feels hard to invest in the Warriors knowing that all their key guys are out. Titans, if you want like a final Hail Mary, some pods like Philip Sammy, Tino, if you can swing him in terms of the money. Fafita obviously is a really good captaincy shout this week. And then Bulldogs, potentially, if you want to target the Titans. So, some of the middles for the Bulldogs, potentially, but not probably a team worth targeting. I think the big one is probably Melbourne. So obviously a very weakened Broncos outfit that they're coming up against, but Ryan Papenhuyzen named to start at fullback. If you've got the money, 950k, if you're in a luxury position where you can go like drink water to Papenhuyzen or whatever, Pappy probably is the one. He should be goal kicking as well. I don't believe Nick Meaney is playing either for the Storm, so you suspect that Pappy will be goal kicking, and we know Pappy goal kicking. Although ideally, so Nick Meaney is not playing. Ideally, Papenhuyzen goes and scores like 20, 30, and we can get him really nice and cheap for next season. That's kind of the ideal. That's the ideal situation, honestly. Penrith, though, I think Penrith is probably another one of the better teams to target for this week. I mean, you've got Cleary playing, which for me it's kind of one of the last annoyances of the season. I used my last trade last week to do Garrick to Saab when I didn't really need to, because it meant benching Christian Welch, who scored well. That one trade this week could have meant me doing SJ to Cleary, for example. Not that I'm in a rank to push for anything too seriously, but it just would have been nice at least to be able to cheer on Cleary. Haven't owned him pretty much since he came back from his injury, which is probably not hurt me too bad, but yeah, it's not been fun not owning Cleary. But yeah, so Cleary is probably a massive one. Brian Toto playing this week, shout out to him. Aside from that, though, it doesn't really feel like too many other great matchups to target. So, bit of a hard one this week in terms of trade targets. I think it's more going to be about your captaincy plays. Cherry Evans seems to stick out for a nice pod play, though, like high upside goal kicking as well for Manly. So, he showed it last week and definitely could do it again this week. I keep changing the wrong screen. Best matchups, forget about that. I didn't even update that one. But let's see if there's any questions from the chat. You actually have 3 trades, Davey K, but no boost. So you're going to end the season, Davey K, with a trade up your sleeve. You are the envy of probably 99% of SuperCoach out there. I mean, what could I do? This is one thing, just on the whole thing about, trades and 2024 learnings and whatnot. I would like to see, similar to Fantasy Premier League. So Fantasy Premier League season started, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. Well, I'm not doing very well, but I do enjoy the Premier League and Fantasy Premier League. What I like with Fantasy Premier League is there's no cap on how many trades you can do, or transfers as they call it. It's just a question of if you want to do extra outside of your free one that you get allocated each week, you need to pay for it in points. So in FPL, it's a -4 point hit if you want to take more than the one free transfer. You can save your one free transfer and get 2 the following game week. You can't then, but it doesn't keep adding up. So after you get to 2 free transfers, you essentially burn one that if you don't use it. So you can save up to a maximum of 2 free transfers, and it's a 4 point hit if you want to go exceeding the amount of free transfers you have. I like that system because it allows people to be a bit more aggressive potentially with their moves. Like say in SuperCoach, if you're like, yep, sure, you can instead of doing 2 trades this week, you can do 3, but it's going to cost you, I don't know, 50 points for this week. But that could reward like attacking play. If you're like, look, this week I don't own Cleary, I need him this week, I'll cop losing 50 points if it means I can captain someone who I do think is going to score like 150 this week kind of thing. Because you can get stuck into the just having the 2 trades, and you avoid a situation like this at the end of the season where a lot of people out there don't have trades and don't feel the numbers. You can just take a bunch of trades, just do a bunch of trades. It'll cost you some points, but you can actually bring in guys who are going to play this week. I can see the downsides of it though, because you can just take heaps of points hits, and I don't know, it's a hard one. It's very tricky. It seems to work in Fantasy Premier League. Don't quite know how it'd work in SuperCoach, but I do feel like that's one thing that I do like in Fantasy Premier League. It kind of keeps you involved in the season for the whole time, because you know that you have that ability to be able to keep making transfers and changing your team all the way up until the end of the season. SuperCoach is kind of like good at the start, obviously enjoyable, but as soon as you get these latter rounds of the season, and in a round like this, it's essentially a dead round for SuperCoach. Like there's no, apart from overall players, think about this as well from an overall perspective. People have been being really strategic, really careful with their planning all season long, and it just so happens that unfortunately they've got two extra players out compared to say rank second, and it's like 26 rounds of really good planning, good calls, captaincy calls could all get wiped out. And I guess that's part of the game. It happened last week with Joey Manu. That is part of the game. Your captain gets knocked out in the first 10-15 minutes, and you just kind of have to ride those lows. But yeah, it's something I do think that SuperCoach could potentially look at. Like Ian saying, SuperCoach overall could finish in round 26 at the same time as head-to-head grand final. Yeah, I can see that. So round 27 doesn't maybe count for anything SuperCoach wise. Like it could just be like I don't know, maybe if they want to keep interest, because the thing with SuperCoach, the actual game, they want to increase engagement as much as they can throughout the season. That's how they get, that's how they do the best out of it. So maybe, again, I'm going to steal something from Fantasy Premier League. You've got a free hit. It's a chip that basically lets you change your team for that entire week. And you can change everything about your team, and then you just revert back to your old team the next week. Maybe you do something like this where you say, okay, round 27, it's a free hit. Overall stakes are off the table. Head-to-head is finished. Do a free hit, and winner of this, instead of the normal 1k prize, gets like a 2k prize, maybe. Like it's doubled. 2k, maybe 3k prize, whatever. You'd probably find that, oh, look, I'm out of trades. My overall's done. Let me just try have a free crack at getting 2k at the end of in the last week of the season. Like as Dino says, maybe make a round to 27 like a best 13 round. Something to maybe add some incentive to want to actually play in round 27, because I'll be honest, like I've got no trades to do. I'll set my team up, set my vice captain, and that's it. I'm mentally switched off SuperCoach, to be honest, which I don't want to do. I want to be in a position where I'm still engaged and still enjoying the game, though, to be honest. But let me know what you guys think. That's kind of what initial thoughts from me for what potentially maybe could change 2024. It's always hard because we're in these instances where like you've got a really extreme example this season where you've got so many players getting rested around 27. It might not always be the case. It just so happens that this season, the Broncos, Penrith, they're sitting pretty. They're locked in their top 1 and 2 spots. Warriors have locked in top 4, so they're okay to rest players. Melbourne are kind of there or thereabouts. It's only the teams playing for something who are going to keep their full contingent out on the field. Wildcard for round 27 in SuperCoach, yeah, something like that free hit that I mentioned. I do like the wildcard in Fantasy Premier League as well, where you can change your whole team. You get 2 of them a season in 38-week season. You have to use your first one within the first 19 weeks, and then you got your second one for the rest of the season until game week 38. I wonder if SuperCoach could do something like that. I don't know, where you say, okay, it's a 27-round season. Maybe you need to use your first wildcard in round 13, where the first bye happens, and then your second one is after that. I can see how it could be a bit of a kind of a boring for SuperCoach, because what would happen is if you can plan your team effectively, you could just change your entire team in round 13, get rid of all your Origin guys, get on guys who are not playing Origin, play all the buys, and then you wildcard, if you call it a wildcard again, second half, and you bring back all your Origin guns in the week after Origin. Everyone would kind of follow the same strategy, so it could be a little bit boring. It could maybe work in the first part of the season though, because someone who's had a really terrible start, say like round 3, they're like, I need to bring in all these guys who are going up in price. So maybe some people will do it early. So I don't know, maybe it does throw out some different strategies. Making trades is the most engaging part of the game for me. I would like to see more trades. Yeah. So again, it's a question of people want to be able to keep making changes to their team. If you can't do anything to your team, why even bother worrying about setting up your team, right? So yeah, I agree. Whether it's more trades, whether it's being able to have unlimited trades, but you have to start paying for, like, what do we get? 40 trades this season. So maybe it's like you get 40 free trades. After that, your trade's got to start costing points. So then you have to think about it a little bit more like, okay, if I can use all these trades to set up my team, and then thereafter, am I happy to burn points to keep doing trades in the future? I don't know. Something like that could be an option. Will says, I don't mind the way it is. Rewards teams with depth and trades. I may be biased, so as I have 16 players this week. Yeah, Will, look, that's a very good position to be in. I'll be honest though, don't think you're being too unreasonable though. Like, at the end of the day, I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt to SuperCoach and think that they think about all these things and how to best optimize the game. But yes, it does reward people with good depth and trades. But my counter, and especially in a week like this, is like, no matter how much depth you have, it's kind of hard to avoid some of the pain, right? Like, if I just had to rattle off names like Grant, Munster, Ponga, Torhu is gone. Who else is there? There's a bunch of other players. Nickel Klukstad with Tenny Zalesniak. No, Latrell is a bit of a different one because he got suspended. It's not really SuperCoach's fault. Well, none of this is SuperCoach's fault, but it's not the resting in round 27's fault, which is why Latrell's out. So you've got all these big, Eels players are on a bye as well. So no Gutho, no Hopgood, etc. So it's kind of, I think, maybe just panned out, unfortunately, for this specific week. But anyway, it is what it is. 18 minutes spent rambling about that. How good. I'm very good at the waffle. So in terms of like what I was thinking for this week in terms of captaincy, I think captaincy is probably the biggest decision you have left. So I do think Cherry Evans is probably the best VC that you can go for due to, the upside in the game. Tigers have been the 6th worst at conceding points to opposition halfbacks. We know he's goal kicking as well. It's a game where we could see Cherry Evans go massive again like he did last week. So I really like him as a VC option. Yep, Fanul Blake out as well. Ian, yep, so another big SuperCoach player who's going to be out for this week. Teddy's back for the Roosters, so maybe a weakened Rabbitohs team. Everything to play for these two teams. So that should hopefully be a high quality game on Friday. Actually, that's a good reminder. I might see if I can get to that game. It's at Allianz, so yeah, let's see if I can get to that game. It's on Friday night. We'll see if I can get there. Apart from that, you got a Sarko. I've only put a Sarko because Warriors have got such a weakened team. So the goal kicker. Maybe the Dolphins want to end their first inaugural season with a bang. Captaincy wise, though, for me, it felt clear that it was Cleary, Hines, and Fifita. I think if you're a safe player, like let's say you're in the top 1,000 and you just want to consolidate your rank, Cleary to me seems to be the safe captaincy choice. So obviously you can't VC Cherry Evans and Captain Cleary. So in that sense, I'd probably just VC someone who's kind of playing in the early game, like Broncos Melbourne. I don't know. Maybe you VC like Reece Walsh is also out. Payne Haas, a bunch of other relevant guys as well. I mean, maybe you VC someone like a Piakura playing on an edge. Could be some opportunity for him to get maybe some attacking stats against a weakened Melbourne team. Otherwise, if you've got Rabbitohs players still like Cody Walker against the Roosters, I probably should have put him on the list here, to be honest, because we know not the last time, but he has set a SuperCoach record playing against the Roosters in the last week of the season. 203 points, I think it was, in 2020. So Cody Walker is definitely, I think, one of the better VC shouts as well. And then, he plays on the Friday, and then you can roll into Captain Cleary on Saturday, 5:30. I think that's probably the combination I'll do for like a safe kind of coach out there. If you're going a little bit more upside, then I think if you can swing Cherry Evans or a Manly player, VC, like a Kula, Saab, Olakuatu, those are good options. Otherwise, Captain Cleary. If you're looking for more of a pod, then I'd probably say captain Fafita against the Bulldogs, who have actually been the worst at defending opposition second row forwards. So Fafita has had a bit of a quiet couple of weeks, but he could bounce back in this last week of the year. And then for me, Hines is also another safe captain option. So I think if you're rank chasing, I'd probably captain Hines over Cleary. If you're looking to consolidate, I'd probably just captain Cleary. I don't own Cleary, so for me, I'm on captain Hines. And VC, to be honest, undecided. I might just VC someone like a Damien Cook, who I do own. So that might just be my combination. Chris saying, won my Cashy head-to-head finals, congrats. Ended up doing Trell to Drinky and Hines to Cherry Evan, won by 60 with a 14.56. Chris, that's fantastic. Congratulations on doing that. Great trades. Both of the players that you traded in went and scored a ton. So yeah, for head-to-head, that's probably the best two trades that you could have done by the sound of it. So yeah, congrats, Chris, on that really, really good result. I'll quickly show you guys my team just to see kind of what I'm dealing with at the time being. And also, this is kind of where I wanted to maybe go a bit more into the... there was one thing I missed, sorry, for my slides. Sorry, let me go back to this. I jumped the gun. So, yeah, I thought maybe let's get into more of a season review style. So, yeah, keen to see what you in the chat thought about your seasons as a whole. I do think there was a few key things that I've kind of picked out here. There's a lot more that, there's smaller decisions that come into it in terms of like what influenced where you ended up in a certain year. So I'd be keen to see what you guys think what are some of the, maybe give me, like, if you can in the chat, give me what you thought was your best call of the season, and also maybe what was your worst call of the season. Like, was it your worst captaincy or your worst trade? And also vice versa, what was your best captain call and your best kind of trade in? So if I had to answer that, worst captain, for sure, Joey Marnie last week. That obviously killed me. Scored, 16 points. I had VC Drinkwater on offer. And it's always easy to say in hindsight, but especially this season with the buys, it did feel like a season where you could use the VC loophole more often than not because of those buys, meaning that you generally didn't have a really, really stacked bench that could maybe hurt you with a really bad 80 score, apart from shout out to Sonny Luke, who was pretty much an 80 nightmare for the majority of the season for a lot of people out there. So yeah, like for me, Captain Joey Martin last week was a bit of a dagger. I think the other worst thing that I missed out on was, actually, I can think of two. So there's the Nico Hines one, round 4. So I still got a green arrow that week, surprisingly. If you can see here, I went from like high 20Ks to like a 20K rank between round 4 and 5. So I must have done something right that week. But I do feel like the people who started off really strong and kind of were able to maybe maintain that rank at the top were the people who brought in Nico Hines in round 4 and captained him for his massive 180. So yeah, people in the chat, let me know if you were one of those lucky people. I wasn't. I was kind of scared off by, I thought it was a calf strain. When he comes back, is he going to be fully fit? I think this is something I'm just, my nature is I'm more conservative, more passive. I'm probably not aggressive enough where I'm like, I need to go and get this guy and just live with the outcome. If he re-injures himself, so be it. I've got trades to fix it. But this is a matchup that could hurt me. And if I don't get it and he does well, then I'm screwed. I think that's maybe the mindset that I should have had, instead of like, oh, let me wait and see and then get him. Because if you remember, Sharks also had a buy in round 6. So if you bought him round 4 and 5, you were targeting 2 good matchups. If you bought him in round 5, you were only getting 1 before his buy. So it was kind of like a case of you either get him in round 4 or you wait until round 7. I bought him in round 5 because I got too much FOMO. That was definitely something that sticks out in my mind at the beginning of the season. And the other one that I really do think, because if you look on the screen, you can see my rank trend. I really, from round 13, just hovered. Didn't really ever go up or down massively. And it was around that kind of between the 6.5, 7K to about 5K. It's kind of where I was hovering. Where I'd failed and where I could have made a big jump was around round 20, round 21. So there was 2 trades that I did that if I had done my other alternative, probably would have seen me, I think, maybe closer to like 3K. So what it was, I think it was round 20, and Alex Johnston was 515K. And he had a few bad run of scores, but he had a few good. That's when I think Rabbitoh's draw started to open up. But I think he either missed out or was on a bye that week. And yeah, I think it was round 20 because I remember the Rabbitohs were on a bye in round 20. And Munster was playing, and I thought, ooh, I really want Munster this week because, I can gain an advantage maybe selling AJ via duels, getting in Cam Munster. And look, for the end of the season, Munster was fine, but he wasn't I wouldn't say he was an absolute must-have for the end of the season. He didn't have any score, over 100 from round 20 onwards. He scored 65 the week that I got him. Then it was 97 and 80, so it was decent, but his scores for the run home were 97, 80, 46, 87, 28, 87. So he was kind of averaging around that maybe 70-ish mark, which is fine, but you can live without it. What happened then was, by doing AJ to Munster, one, I sold AJ bottom dollar, where I maybe should have just said, let me just leave it and hope that he scores well. And he did proceed to score well. I'm going to have a quick look at Alex Johnson from round 20. He had scores of 82, 122, 66, and 72. So there was 4 weeks there where he hurt me pretty bad from selling him. He outscored Munster, who I traded in. And what that trade stopped me from doing was my original plan, even before when I came into that week, which was Damien Cook to Harry Grant. That was a trade I was going to do in round 20, but I was number crunching, I was doing this, all and that, and I thought I made a decision that, actually a rotation of Damien Cook and Reid Marnie, if Grant continues to average 65, 67, and the other two kind of average what they were averaging, I was losing out on 100 points over the rest of the season. So it was 100 points over 7 weeks. I can probably live with that. My failing there was that I didn't listen to my own advice, which I said earlier in the season about Grant was he seems to always start the season really strong. Midway through the year when Origin, that's when you can kind of look to sell him, you can get off him. But then end of the season, he did it last season, he ended really, really strongly. So I knew that in the back of my head, but for whatever reason, I was looking very short term at that week. AJ to Munster was going to get me points. So that's the trade I did, and Grant absolutely killed me. He went 95, 36, 149, which I missed, 57, 110, 59, and 70. So those 2 tons, one of them a really big one, and I missed out on a 95. So Cook was good last week. I think he's not last week, he was on a bye, but he did score 117. But those other weeks were 59, 47, 69, 45. There was a solid over 100 points that I missed out on not going Grant. So that specific moment, I think, stopped me from any major rank rise. So that was one thing for sure. So yeah, those are some of my bad. Let me pause there before I keep ranting. Ian says, I missed SJ, missed Hines 180 as well. Started with Trell, sold the Trell early, then brought back in round 20 to then have a buy and get suspended. Yeah, that's one of the worst ones, is when you always you seem to use 4 or 5 trades on the same player during the season. You trade them in, you trade them out, you trade them in again, you trade them out. It just kind of feels like you're just burning trades on not much upside or not much value. Yeah, Adam says Hines not until round 7, that hurt bad, and chasing rank ever since. That did feel like a pretty pivotal moment. Despite how early it was in the season, it felt very hard to come back from. Correct me if did anyone else score over 180 has that been the highest score this season? I have a feeling that has been the highest score for this season. I'm going to have a quick look on NRL SuperCoach Stats, fantastic website. Let's see, high scores by player. Let's do year 2023. Yeah, sorry, so Ponga. So Kalen Ponga also scored 180. So Ponga did match Hines. Thankfully, I did own Kalen Ponga. I'll talk about him shortly. But yeah, Nico Hines 180 was the equal most scored points for a game this season. So missing out on something like that, and especially when he was a lot of people captained him too, just felt very, very difficult to come back from. Surprisingly enough, actually, let me throw this to the chat. Yeah, Dallin was close, 175. Without looking, who scored the second highest score of 2023? Might be a name that you're not expecting, but yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys are able to guess that one. So yeah, Hines was a big one. I'm not too sad. Let's talk about some of the good. So I think some of the good was Knights, I somehow managed to do well with the Knights players. So I traded in Marzu at 581k in round 6, kept him for the rest of the season, and I timed Ponga good as well, 603k. Bought him in round 16, I think, when it was a bye week, and I think I sold for feeder for him. And we know what he did since then. He's been pretty much, he has been a must-have in this run home. So he's gone over $1 million, but I paid 600k for him. I think, to be honest, he's the only reason why I did not kind of tank and rank from round 16 onwards, because you can see here, like, none of this period here I owned Cleary or Grant, and I missed out on a few big scores. But I think Ponga, just having him for this little period here before a lot of others got him, and being able to get that 180 kind of is what I think saved me from having a really horror back end of the season. So shout out to KP. Second highest, Dallin, not quite. There is someone who scored more than Dallin, but not more than 180. I'll give you a hint. Plays for a Queensland team. What else is there? Buller. Yeah, Buller was a good trade, and I got him at pretty low, 283k, so that was nice. Another thing I didn't do was I didn't focus too many trades on front row forward. So, like, I didn't own Payne Haas once this season. Didn't own AFB once this season. To be honest, AFB did hurt because he's actually scored 1,600 points, whereas some of the other, like Haas is 1470, not Tappan, Tarpany scored 1444. So in the end, only scored 36 or 26 less points than Payne Haas. And that's not Tofu, that's Tohu. Bloody autocorrect. Yeah, Tohu scored 1332. So he was about 150 points less than Payne Haas, but I think not focusing too many trades there seemed to work out well for me, I guess, this season. Reece Walsh or Drinkwater? No. Tom Dearden, 179 points. Remember, that was the game when they scored, 70 points on the Tigers? Yeah, Tom Dearden scored 179 points. Who would have thought that? Dallin was next with 175. So was Scott Sorensen, 175. Scott Drinkwater was 173. And then the next was Ruben Garrick, 169. And then after that, we had a few. Turbo, 165. Dylan Edwards, 163. Cleary, 158 against Manly in round 6, that was. Jerome Hughes had that 156 against the Sharks in round 18. And Val Holmes, 150 in round 14. Yeah, Val was another one. I haven't got him on the list here, but he was a killer. I think a lot of people sold him, and that was around round 13 during the Origin period, and yeah, absolutely killed us. So I mentioned the AJ one. I put in Jason Saab instead of Suoli'i Kula because that burnt me last week. And I think another big one was I sold Hopgood really early in round 7 when I think that was the first time he was benched for a couple of weeks. And then I never got him back. I never got him back for the rest of the season. And this is something I think I need to just think a bit more about as well next year is don't assume that when you sell someone that you can just bring them back, because you'll find that you have other issues to fix, or you find a new shiny toy and you kind of just overlook the player that you sold. Don't be afraid to also bring back a guy that you sold, because Hopgood in the end absolutely killed me. I had an opportunity to get him back. I got Madison instead, trying to be cute, and that probably cost me also about 150 points because I think Hopgood is more or less outscoring him by 20 points every week. So yeah, not ideal. I've got Buller twice there. Buller wasn't that good of a good for me. Harry Grant, no. So Harry Grant is obviously one of my bads. So he was good at the start of the season, and I didn't own him for the rest, which was not fun. All right, that's kind of a bit of a look at my kind of initial view at some of my good and bad of the season. If you want to see a bit more, I do recommend looking at this as well if you are interested. If you go to your history tab in the My Team, and if you go to on the right hand side here, you've got trade history. It's a nice little feature just to see some of the trades that you did over the season. Let me just make sure that you guys can actually see my screen here. Yep, I'll try to zoom in as well actually. Yeah, it's probably a bit better. So if you look on the right here, if you go to history up here, and then if you go to trade history, you can kind of see your trades that you've made over the season. So I was kind of taking a look at it. I think another one that I kind of maybe missed the boat on a little bit was timing my fullbacks. I think I kind of missed. I think, again, I'm going to sound a bit ranty here, but there is a lot of value in just getting a guy 1 week before everyone else does. It's hard. It's easy to say now because sometimes it's hard to pick who that player will be. But I think if you just get this player even 1 week before everyone else, it just sets you up so well, because everyone else is using trades to get that guy, and then you can say, I've got that guy, who's the next guy? And you can kind of always just stay one step ahead, and no one else can get those points that you've got. I felt I was always a week behind. I feel like I was always chasing someone who scored really well that previous week, like Nico Hines was one. I think I was a week late on the Teddy to Walsh that a lot of people did. A lot of people did it the week before. That worked out for them as well, because it's not even just the points, it's the money. You save like an extra 20, 30k. You do that a few times, you're playing with an extra 100, 120k in value. And that it could be the difference between, say, I need to upgrade, I don't know, center wing, and instead of going Brian to I have to go like a Jason Saab kind of thing. Like, I don't know, that's just a random example there. So that was one thing I felt I noticed, especially with fullback. I was 1 week late on the Teddy to Walsh. I was 1 week late again in selling Walsh when he had a hard run of games coming up. I said, oh, he scored so well, let me give him another week and then I'll sell him. Scored really poor. The guy that I wanted was Clint Gutherson. I think he scored 100 plus. Then I made the move the week after. And then it didn't work out. Walsh, I think, scored well. Gutherson ended up being a good trade-in for me. But that was another thing. I was like kind of 1 week off a lot of these players. I think I brought back in Teddy for Turbo. And I think Teddy had 1 or 2 bad games. And then I can't even remember what it was. I think, so you can see in round 11, I don't know what. I think it was to get Buller to make money. So that trade probably worked out well. But Teddy went on, he had like, I think, Dragons. And I think he ended up scoring like 2 tons in a row. So like, just some of the trades were a little bit silly. I think trying to just chase the new shiny toy, maybe just need to be a little bit more patient, but also kind of balance a bit more when to be aggressive and to jump on a guy before they've actually started scoring well. Because that's something I do struggle with. I kind of sometimes need to see the points or need to see it happen before I'm convicted enough to be like, yep, I want to do it now. Definitely something I do struggle with. Ian says, I think next year's trying to set up team early as the bye week doesn't really matter as it's top 13. Not going to worry about Origin players, I think. This is a good point as well. Like this is the first year of having the best 13 set up, and I do think that meant that you didn't have to really plan for your team as much. Now, granted, I think most weeks most people didn't get to 13 players, but I do think that is something that we should keep in mind. I say it every year though, about not worrying about buy planning as much as I do. But it's hard that when it gets to the season, you kind of look at it like, this is an important thing we need to think about. So I think it's just trying to get that balance right. But yeah, maybe I just don't need to be so gung-ho and selling Origin players over that period. Maybe holding on to 1 or 2 of them. Like Dave Fafita, sold him during Origin period and he absolutely killed it. Sold Val Holmes, killed it. A lot of sometimes it works. Harry Grant's probably an example of that. But yeah, sometimes it just doesn't. I don't know how every year I convince myself boosts and trades are overrated as long as you build depth. Okay, so Steve, what you're saying is that you kind of convince yourself that the boosts and the trades are overrated, so you just you're okay to burn them. I will say the boosts are okay to kind of burn at the beginning of the season, because I saved my last boost, I think, in round... it was around one of these middle rounds. It would have been... when was the last time I used 3 trades? I think it was round 15 is when I used my last boost. And I think Cleary was injured. And that's right. And I think the whole Dylan Brown situation happened as well. So I think that's the last time that I used a boost. I think that was the last time I used a boost. So I used my last boost in round 15. To be honest, it didn't really feel like it made a difference that I used it so much later than if I had maybe used it in, say, like in round 13. So I do think the boosts, you can afford to burn through them. But yes, trades, we always say it. Trades are gold. Need to save trades. Even just this most recent week, I managed to have 1 trade spare last week that I didn't need to use. I could have saved it for this week. Instead, I was greedy and wanted to chase the high upside guy, like a Jason Saab or a Kula or a Suli'i. So I burned my trade, went Garrick to one of them. Didn't need to. I had depth to play someone else. I could have just took that week on the chin, and I knew that there would be rests this week, but I still was like, I think I've got enough depth. Now, 1 trade wouldn't have got me 17 this week, but it would have got me 15, including a Cleary. like SJ to Cleary, which would have been a huge points gain. I can't do it now because I chased a short-term thing. So that's another kind of lesson as well. Try not to be so short-term, but also don't be afraid to attack those kind of high upside plays. I think if I do recommend someone who I think is really good at this, I think Savs from the SC Experience. If you listen to that podcast, if you don't, recommend it for sure. I find he's very good at actually doing these kind of short-term plays and rotating guns and stuff. So I do like listening to his podcast. I kind of generally always are listening to be like, oh, who's he thinking about this week? Is there someone that I should be thinking about that I haven't thought about yet? Never buy a Smith again. Billy Smith. I mean, even Billy Smith is the one. Billy Smith was doing nothing. Sold him, and then he actually started scoring well. Just classic SuperCoach, isn't it? Anyway, we're going on 41 minutes, and I've been just talking about, my regrets, lessons learned, all that stuff. But hopefully you guys find it useful. Obviously, not a whole heap of content, I think, to talk about for this week. I'll very quickly just show you guys my team, and not that there's a full 17 to show you, but if you want to see what my last team is for the season. Shout out as well to the auto update from SuperCoach. You have not selected all of your 4 reserves for a total of 17 scoring players this round. Please ensure you select all 4 reserves before lockout. Thanks, SuperCoach. Can you read the room though? Can you see all these empty circles? Not playing, not playing, not playing, suspended, not playing, on a bye. Please just take one look at my team before you decide to give me this auto message. That would be much appreciated. No, it's just a joke, but yeah, look, I probably just have to reserve someone else. Who am I going to reserve who's not playing? Let's reserve Matt Drury. Why not? Reserve Matt Drury. Walsh was amazing in the beginning of the season. Yeah, he was. That's another thing. Fullback next season is going to be so interesting. It's going to be, I can already see in my head the 2024 preseason fullback video. Who are the must-have fullbacks? You're going to have Pappenhausen probably coming in cheap. You're going to have Turbo coming back. You're going to have Latrell. You're going to have Drinkwater. You're going to have Gutherson. You're going to have Reece Walsh. Nickel Klukstad maybe is a shout. That's 6-7 guys. I can already think about that. Any two of them, Teddy, any two of those 7 or 8 could be viable. But we only have 2 slots. So, yes, that's going to be very, very interesting. But yeah, Reece Walsh has definitely, I think, cemented himself as an elite SuperCoach fullback option. What's my FPL rank? Bad. I think at the moment I'm like 2 million. I mean, look, granted, it's only been 3 weeks. But yes, not had the best start, Ian. At the moment I'm 2,039,000. So yeah, not doing very well. But look, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Fantasy Premier League, I do tend to be a bit better. Oh yeah, that's right. Let me. I shared a tweet I think a few weeks ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago. Based on my last 3 seasons of Fantasy Premier League, I am the 63rd best FPL player globally, based on my last 3 ranks, and apparently 2nd best in Australia. Could you believe that? And I don't do content about Fantasy Premier League. It's just too hard to balance both SuperCoach and FPL. But yeah, fingers crossed, hopefully we can keep it up, because yeah, the last 3 seasons have been good. I think my last 3 season ranks, let me get it up in front of me. 634, that was in 2021, which is 634 is ridiculous with Premier League, to be honest, because there's like what, 9-10 million players who play it. I think the season after that 11k, and then the season after that last season was 5.6k. Put it this way, my Fantasy Premier League rank of 5.6k out of 11 million players is better than my SuperCoach rank out of 150k players. So there you go. But yes, anyway, so my SuperCoach team for this week, no trades left, so I'm just playing everyone I can. VC at the moment, Damien Cook, captain, Nico Hines. It is what it is. Don't have Cleary, can't get to him, so it is what it is. I think Hines is the guy who I need to captain. And yeah, that's that. 14 active players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And 14. Shout out to Jack Howarth, coming off the bench for the Storm. Our Nuff, who we've had, I think, for a large part of the season. He's making an appearance in round 27. How good. Also, last little fun thing before we wrap up the stream. Let me know as well who in your team has been there from day one and has not moved at all. So it can't be someone that you started with, who you traded out and then back in. It has to be someone who stayed in your team the entire season. I've got a couple. Christian Welch has made it from round 1 to round 27. What a man. Didn't play him last week for his high score of the season, 75. Thank you, Christian, for that. Scoring a meat pie against the Titans. Did not appreciate that. And shout out to Matt Dury. That's probably something I should also add to the bad list. Matt Dury instead of Bryce Cartwright to start the season I think that probably just set the tone for my season, because Cartwright turned out to be this absolute gun. What did he do? Bryce Cartwright. Cardi Party. Bryce Cartwright has averaged 62 points for the season. He is 669k from a starting price of 234k. So he has made 420k. Matt Dury has made me 14k and scored me 50 points, maybe. Yeah, that was one of the worst. And Dury was just at such a low value, it didn't make any sense to try to sell him. So yeah, shout out to Matt Dury if you're listening out there. You're my hero. You made it all the way through from round 1 to 27. Not many others get onto this list. It's only you and Christian Welch this season. So yeah, hope you are happy with that. Tom J is back, gifted 50 SuperCoach memberships. Thank you, Tom J. Of course, you had to do that to end the season on a high note. Really appreciate that. Yeah, Tom J, you've done this before. Any new members or any members at all, give the man some love and send this emoji. Tom J gifted me this. You gotta hit that in the chat. I think, because it's not the first time Tom J has done this. I think he's done this I think this might be your 6th time, Tom. No, really do appreciate it. Really appreciate all the generosity as well. And yeah, honestly, yeah, really thank you guys for tuning in all season long. It really it's really nice to be able to do this kind of every week on a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it is, and on the Sundays. Nice distraction outside of work life, which is not always fun. So yeah, really good to be able to do something a bit enjoyable outside of work. And yeah, you guys have been amazing all season long. Really do appreciate it. What did Megalodon say? Nuffed out Sonny Luke with the Dragons, dude I never heard of. Next week he's on the bench and been an AE nightmare for the last month. At least this week he's starting. Well, yeah, swings and roundabouts. SuperCoach can hand you these gifts, and sometimes it can hand you a nightmare in an AE. Adam, Braden Williami is a cash cow. See where I can spend the money next week. Yep, shout out to Braden Williami. Scored well in the first game of the season, then was never to be seen again. Ben Murdoch-Masila, the bane of my existence. Yeah, I think SuperCoach Whisperer also had Murdoch-Masila as one of his guys who played the entire season. Harry Grant from the Real Keefe, congrats. Yeah, that's a good one to have in Harry Grant. How did I stand owning mid-Welch all year? I don't know how. To be honest, Christian Welch averaged 53. He kind of just did he was just perfect. He just did what I thought he would do. That's what can't really complain, right? If I needed him most weeks, he'd get me 50 to 55. Occasionally he got me a 70. Not last week, but he ended the season pretty good. 63, 47, 61, 46, 75. Not too bad. He gained 60k price over the season. And yeah, look, he just plugged the gap in front of forward. Shout out to Christian Welch or mid-Welch. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it goes to my point from before. I just didn't seem to bother about making trades at front row forward. Thank you, Man, for all your content this season. Appreciate it. Hey, Man, just want to say thank you so much for everything this year. I'll forever remember that birthday shout out you gave me. Yep, I remember that birthday poem, Jason. Remember it very well. So yeah, appreciate that you like that as well. And yeah, we'll be back next season, of course. CNK since day one from Brody. Now that is a good one. CNK is one of those ones who was 330k start of the season. Didn't really rate him to that highly, if I'm being honest, as a SuperCoach prospect, and then just turned out to be an absolute keeper. So yeah, that's a really good one. Hopgood, yep, Hopgood is a great one as well. I sold him, didn't get him back, but yeah, I think Hopgood would be a popular one that I think a lot of people may have held. Tino and Fafita all year. Now that's impressive, given that Tino was out for 3 weeks. Tino and Fafita is a good one. That's a good one. 2023 Jai Arrow. Yep, that's Christian Walsh there for you, Steezers. Thank you for the season. Always appreciate making these videos on a Tuesday. See you next season. Thank you so much, AJ. All right, we've hit 50 minutes. I'm actually surprised that I managed to talk through 50 minutes in this week when there's probably not much to discuss. Not really so much a round preview, but more of a bit of a season wrap up, lessons learned, what can we take into next season. So yeah, that'll probably be the last stream for the season. Probably won't do a standalone season review one. But yeah, if you play Fantasy Premier League, I'm very active on my Aman Talks FPL Twitter, so do check me out there as well. I'll be posting updates for that fairly often. Might even be doing a little bit of content on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. But yeah, that'll be it for SuperCoach, I think. And then we'll be back. I think the game opens around December. So look, I'll still be around on Twitter, obviously, for watching the finals and stuff. But yeah, no more SuperCoach stuff. But we'll be ramping back up again, probably around January, I think, when I first start. And generally when the draw comes out and when the game opens. When does it open? I think if you're a SuperCoach Plus member, I think it's around December. I think for the majority of people, it's at Australia Day. So I think Australia Day is around, so like Jan 26, I think, is when the game normally opens for everyone, Ian. But yeah, we'll be back then for more content. It's a bit of a hiatus, I think. Maybe if I want to do some NRL Soul content, I'll do it here. Otherwise, no promises. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and for all your support during the season. Good luck for this week if you have a team to field in the first place. If any of your teams are in the finals, good luck to them as well. I'll be cheering for my Roosters this week. If they can make a sneaky push into the top 8, that'll be a miracle. But let's see how we go. And my bet is, I'm going to bet a grand final of Penrith versus Broncos. I think Penrith Broncos seems to be the I think that's the grand final I'm gonna suspect will happen. And I think if Luai is back for a prelim, so if the Panthers win week 1 and get a rest and then play their prelim, and if Luai is back for the prelim, I think I'm going to have to give Penrith the edge. I think it could be, if Luai is back and they've got no other injuries, I just think they're just, like, I can see the motivation for them, because it's like, we could be the first team to three-peat in the modern NRL era, and like literally cement themselves as greatest ever club team. They're probably already up there in terms of one of the best ever club teams, but this could just be the final sign off on it. But if I had to choose who I'd love to win the most, though, it has to be the Warriors. I think if Roosters don't make the top 8, for me, I'll 100% be cheering on, I think, the Warriors during the final season, because I just love that they've been playing so well this season. Love watching their style of play. It's been so good. And I think after what they went through during COVID and everything, I think it's, well deserved that they're having success, and really happy for Warriors fans as well. So definitely Warriors are the number behind my Roosters. I think my number 2 team that I'm going to cheer on for the run home into the season. Penrith Warriors grand final would be nice. I would like that, Ian, but can they? Broncos are a serious team as well this season. Serious team. Up the Bunnies, nah, sorry, Ian, I can't support that. Knights as the Smokies, potentially, yeah. I mean, yeah, again, the Knights have been playing very well. I just feel like if I had to, I think when it comes to just a knockout game, Melbourne have got the experience. Penrith have the experience. Broncos don't quite have the experience, but I just think they're just got more quality players across the park. So I kind of feel like I have to give those 3 teams the edge. Warriors, Knights could be kind of even. The rest I probably don't really give a chance, I think, to win too much. Anyway, we'll end it there. We'll wrap up the stream there. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And see you in the next one. Do give the stream a like on the way out. And if you haven't yet subscribed, just hit the subscribe button so you're ready to go for the next batch of content for 2024. All right. See you in the next one, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.